Hi, I'm Danny. Today I'm going to explain a movie where a lost toy leads to a hidden temple, a teenager meets a dying wizard, and a word unlocks godlike powers. Can a kid save the world from deadly sins? Let's break it down. Let's get started. Our standing in the source of all magic. Millions of lives were lost, entire civilizations erased from existence. Can a teenager with the power of a god save the world? Let's find out right now. You're on Reset Recap. Let's go. A boy named Thaddeus is traveling to his grandfather's house for Christmas with his father, Mr. Savin, and his brother Sid. While in the car, Mr. Savin notices Thaddeus playing with his 8-ball toy and reprimands him for bringing it along on their holiday trip. Thaddeus explains he brought it because it's Christmas, but Sid grabs the toy from his hands. "Hey, D double quote. Hey, Thaddeus," complains his father, but Mr. Savannah harshly tells him to stop whining and learn to stand up for himself. Sid mocks him before giving the toy back. Suddenly, he notices the toy displaying strange symbols. As he begins to blame Sid for breaking it, he realizes the car is empty and he's alone. Terrified, he finds the car speeding uncontrollably. The windows freeze over and the car finally halts. Stepping outside, Thaddeus finds himself in a mysterious temple. Confused, he explores the temple until he encounters a wizard who knows his name. The wizard introduces himself as the last surviving member of the Council of Wizards Guardians against the 7 deadly sins. The wizard explains that his powers are weakening and he seeks a pure-hearted champion to inherit his magic and continue his mission. "You want me to do magic? All my powers will become yours." Thus, Thaddeus seems intrigued by the offer, but the wizard insists he must prove his purity. Just then, the 7 deadly sins begin tempting Thaddeus, urging him to reject the wizard's offer and take control of a powerful eye before him. As Thaddeus reaches for the eye, the wizard intervenes and declares that Thaddeus is unworthy. Without another word, the wizard sends Thaddeus back to the car with his father and brother, disoriented and disappointed. Thaddeus tries to open the car door to return to the temple, but Mr. Savannah and Sid restrain him. In the chaos, the car crashes, throwing Mr. Savannah from the vehicle. Sid finds their father, gravely injured, and blames us for the accident. As Thaddeus attempts to explain, he notices his 8-ball toy displaying a cryptic message from the dead sins urging him to find them. Meanwhile, the sins mock the wizard, warning that his failure to find a champion will soon set them free. The wizard desperately casts a spell to locate someone worthy of becoming his champion. Years later, a boy named Billy Batson tricks police officers into leaving their car, allowing him to check an address of a woman he believes could be his mother. When he knocks on the door, he realizes the woman isn't his mom. The police soon find him and take him to social services. It's revealed that as a child, Billy became separated from his mother at an amusement park and hasn't seen her since. Ever since, he has been searching for her by visiting the homes of women with his surname in the area. At the social services office, a counselor questions Billy about his constant attempts to run away from every foster home he's been placed in. Billy responds that he doesn't need pretend parents, especially since he already has a mom. The counselor asked where all his searching has gotten him, but Billy insists his mom is still out there. Unmoved, the counselor tells Billy it's time to accept that his mother never looked for him. Even though he blames himself for running off to retrieve his toy at the park, she informs him that a new couple, Victor and Rosa, are willing to take him in and urges him not to ruin this opportunity, as they are genuinely kind people. Despite preferring to be on his own, Billy has no choice but to leave with Victor and Rosa on the drive. The couple warmly shares that they were foster kids themselves and understand how he might be feeling. They reassure him that they'll do their best to make him feel welcome when they arrive home. Victor and Rosa introduce Billy to the other foster children they've adopted over the years. The first is Eugene, who is engrossed in his video game. Next, Darla enthusiastically hugs Billy, saying how happy she is to have another brother. Although Billy remains indifferent, he also meets Mary, who is busy with a college interview over the phone. Rosa and Victor beam with pride over Mary's potential future. Rosa then takes Billy to his room, introducing him to a shy boy named Peter. On the way, she explains that Peter is quiet with everyone and encourages Billy not to take it personally. Finally, she shows Billy his shared room with Freddie. As Rosa leaves, Freddie tries to make Billy feel at home by sharing his passion for superheroes even mentioning a bullet he once bought that was used to shoot Superman. When Freddy reaches for Billy's bag, Billy gets defensive, but Freddy brushes it off, saying he understands why Billy wouldn't want anyone snooping through his belongings. Later, Billy heads to the bathroom. Crossing off the last address as he visited in search of his mom. Frustrated, he tosses his notebook into the trash before heading to dinner at the table. The family holds hands to express gratitude for their meal, but Billy stays detached, watching silently. The next day at school, Darla tries to be friendly by pointing out things around. Campus-annoyed Billy tells her she doesn't need to act nice since they're not real siblings. "Look, you don't have to hug me all the time. We're not actually brother and sister," so hurt by his words. Darla walks away and Freddy comforts her, leading her to class while Billy is left alone, trying to justify his remark. Meanwhile, a scientist researching mass hysteria interviews a woman about a mysterious temple she claims to have visited as a child. As the interview progresses, an older Thaddeus enters the room, urging the scientist to ask the woman about specific symbols. The scientist shows her the symbols, triggering a memory. The woman recalls seeing similar symbols on her alarm clock and reveals that she recorded it. Thaddeus interrupts, demanding to see the video. As Thaddeus leaves the interview room, the scientist follows him, expressing her frustration about his constant interruptions. She reminds him that while he may be funding her research on mass hysteria, she does not appreciate his interference, thus remaining silent. But upon entering his office, he retrieves a peculiar door. He explains that the video revealed the symbols appeared 7 times on the alarm clock before a portal to the temple opened. Thaddeus proceeds to write the symbol 7 times on the door, revealing to the scientists that they are not studying mass hysteria. The temple is real. The scientist dismisses his claims as delusional, much like the interviewees she studied. However, when she accidentally touches the door, a portal appears, and she is instantly turned to dust. Fuss, unfazed, steps through the door and enters the temple. The wizard is startled to see this, but soon recalls him as one of the children who failed his test years ago. Thaddeus expresses bitterness over being deemed unworthy and admits that experience taught him he truly lacks a pure heart. Thus then releases the powerful eye, unleashing the 7 deadly sins. The sins declare that they have found their champion and attack the wizard, rendering him unconscious as the sins merge with Thaddeus. The eye fuses into one of his own. The wizard warns Thaddeus that the sins are merely using him to wreak havoc on humanity, but Thaddeus indifferently knocks him out again. Meanwhile, at school, Freddy sits with Billy during lunch, enthusiastically discussing the possibility of having superpowers. He accuses Billy of stealing his Superman bullet, but Billy denies it and leaves, annoyed by Freddy's chatter after school. As the children prepare to head home, bullies Burke and Brett hit Freddy with their truck and proceed to assault him, initially reluctant to intervene. Billy hears the bullies insult Freddy's family and decides to step in. He fights off the bullies, but when they chase him, Billy flees. He eventually escapes into the subway, where the passengers mysteriously vanish and the windows freeze over. As Billy tries to comprehend the situation, the subway stops, and he steps off, finding himself inside a temple. Shocked, he encounters the wizard, who explains his long search for a champion and reveals that he believes Billy is the one. Billy, bewildered, asks about the temple, and the wizard identifies it as the Rock of Eternity. He explains that the 7 wizards once protected the world from the deadly sins, but a past champion misused his powers for revenge, freeing the sins. Since then, the wizard has resolved to grant his powers only to someone with a pure heart. The wizard tells Billy that he is the chosen one and instructs him to hold the staff and call the wizard's name to receive his powers. Billy hesitates, doubting his worthiness, but the wizard insists that Billy is the world's last hope. He reveals that the deadly sins killed his fellow wizards, leaving their thrones vacant, and implores Billy to accept his destiny as the new champion. Billy grabs the staff and asks the wizard for his name. The wizard responds, "Shazam," and when Billy says it aloud, he transforms into an adult man dressed in a superhero costume. The wizard explains that Billy has been transformed into his full potential as the new Shazam. He advises Billy to unlock his greatest power through his heart, as the thrones of his brothers and sisters await him shortly afterward. The wizard turns to dust and, disappears, Billy finds himself back on the subway, still in his Shazam form. Some passengers eye him curiously because of his unusual outfit, prompting him to quickly leave at the nearest stop. That evening, Rosa and Victor worry about Billy not returning home and speculate if he has run away. Meanwhile, Peter discovers Billy's jotter in the trash while Freddy washes dishes in the kitchen. Shazam suddenly appears at the window, urging him not to scream. However, Freddy panics and shouts, not recognizing the stranger. Shazam reveals that Billy needs Freddy's help to understand his new powers as Victor enters the kitchen to investigate Freddy's shout. Freddy dismisses it as nothing. Later, Freddy sneaks out to meet Shazam, who is struggling to figure out how to revert to his original form. Freddy asks for proof that he's really Billy, and Shazam produces the Superman bullet he had taken. Billy admits that, while they may not be close, he reached out to Freddy because of his knowledge about superheroes. Freddy explores Shazam's powers and asks if he knows his abilities. Shazam admits he's unsure, so Freddy encourages him to test flying and other superhero traits, though flying fails. Shazam discovers he can shoot lightning bolts from his fingers. Excited, Freddy spots a thief trying to rob a woman and tells Shazam to intervene. However, the woman has already subdued the thief. Regardless, Shazam uses his powers on the man. They later visit a supermarket to buy snacks, but two robbers interrupt them. Freddy urges Shazam to confront the robbers when one shoots him. Shazam realizes he is bulletproof. Freddy asks the robbers to shoot again so he can record it. And after filming, Shazam subdues the robbers outside the store. Freddy admits he didn't think Billy was cool before, but seeing him as Shazam changed his mind. Billy apologizes for his earlier behavior, and they decide to return home. At the house, Rosa and Victor remain engrossed in their conversation about Billy's absence. Freddy and Shazam slip inside, but Rosa and Victor hear footsteps. When asked who it is, Freddy quickly answers that he's home and brought Billy with him. Rosa and Victor are relieved to hear Freddy's response, but as they mention checking on Billy, Shazam quickly tells them not to be surprised by the unfamiliar voice. Rosa and Victor ask Freddy who's with him. Freddy explains that Billy is just tired and his voice sounds strange because he needs rest. Freddy and Shazam then accidentally walk into Darla's room, startling her as she spots the imposing figure. Shazam quickly covers Darla's mouth to keep her from screaming, but Freddy intervenes, telling him to stop. Freddy explains to Darla that Shazam is actually Billy. When Darla asks how Billy transformed, Freddy tells her it happened when Billy said the name Shazam, to their amazement. Billy transforms back into his regular self after saying the name again, realizing this is the key to changing forms. They plead with Darla to keep it a secret. Darla promises not to tell anyone, agreeing it's how she can be a good sister. The following morning, thus, he storms into his father's company, interrupting a board meeting. He confronts his father, and Sid, determined to prove he experienced something extraordinary the night of the car crash, warns thus to leave before security is called, but Thaddeus, unfazed, throws Sid out of a window. Shocked, everyone in the room watches as thus releases monstrous creatures, declaring his hatred for his father. Thaddeus asserts that he is now more powerful than anyone else alive. One of the sins informs thus that a new champion exists, chosen by the wizard. Hearing this, thus vows to find and eliminate the champion. He then orders the sins to kill everyone in the boardroom, including his father. Meanwhile, at school, Burke and Brett parked their truck, but later found it mysteriously missing. Moments later, the truck crashed down from the sky, completely destroyed. Startled, the boys were approached by Freddy, who felt sympathy knowing Billy was behind the act. Billy transforms into Shazam and tricks the school security guard into letting Freddy leave with him. They head to an abandoned building where Freddy records videos of Shazam testing. His powers include discovering new abilities. Freddy uploads the videos to YouTube, and they quickly gain popularity. Shazam even uses his powers to withdraw money from an ATM, allowing them to buy various items as they play games. Freddy realizes they lack a proper superhero. Later, they visit a real estate office to explore options for buying one, but disagreements about the number of rooms lead them to leave. Returning to school, they notice everyone watching videos of Shazam, the town's new superhero, Freddy. He laments that no one knows he filmed the videos. Brett and Burke attempt to bully Freddy again, but Freddy warns them to back off when they mockingly ask if he'll have Billy fight them again. Freddy confidently claims to know someone even more powerful. He tells them that Shazam is his best friend. Skeptical, the boys laugh it off, prompting Freddy to promise to bring the superhero to school. Brett and Burke still believe Freddy is lying, but they agree to wait for him in the cafeteria the next day to see if Shazam shows up after they leave Billy. Questions Freddy about telling the boys, but Freddy explains he wants to teach them a lesson to stop their bullying. Billy criticizes Freddy for wanting to use the powers for personal gain, especially after advising Billy against doing the same. Billy insists the powers are his and should be used how he wants, but Freddy argues they share the responsibility. Later that evening during dinner, Victor mentions the new superhero. Eugene says he's unimpressed because Shazam hasn't done anything extraordinary, and Peter criticizes his costume. Billy defends the hero, suggesting he may not have chosen the outfit, and encourages everyone to focus on the positives. However, Freddy comments that Shazam doesn't seem grateful for his powers and is pushing his family away. The remark angers Billy, and he storms away from the table. The next day, Billy arrives at school but decides not to go in, wanting to spend more time as Shazam. Freddy warns him it's wrong to skip school, but Billy insists he's an adult now. Freddy asks if Billy will join him for lunch in the cafeteria, but Billy doesn't respond. Meanwhile, as Billy explores the city as Shazam, he sees a truck nearly hit Mary, who's distracted, saves her just in time. Calling her by name, shocked, Mary asks how he knows her name, and Billy jokingly claims it's one of his superpowers when he asks why she's upset. Mary explains she's hesitant to leave for her dream college, fearing she'll abandon her family. Shazam advises her to focus on her happiness instead of worrying about pleasing people who aren't her real family. Mary is unimpressed by his advice but says nothing elsewhere. Freddy is humiliated when Shazam fails to show up at the cafeteria, and Brett and Burke resume bullying him later. Freddy finds Billy showing off his powers at a park to make money. Angry, Freddy confronts him for missing the cafeteria meeting. Billy dismisses the criticism, saying he's a superhero and has no time for trivial things like that. While showing off his lightning bolt ability, he accidentally bursts the tire of a moving bus. Realizing the danger, he rushes to save the bus from falling off a bridge and successfully prevents a disaster. A news reporter interviews Shazam as the city's newest hero, but Freddy arrives and confronts him, saying the bus incident was Billy's fault. Billy brushes it off, urging Freddy to focus on the positives. Freddy retorts that he wishes he had the powers instead of Billy, who acts selfishly and like a bully. Feeling hurt, Freddy walks away. Moments later, Thaddeus appears behind Billy, calling him the chosen one. Shazam is unsure who Thaddeus is and asks if he's a villain. Thaddeus simply demands that Shazam relinquish his powers if he wants to live. Shazam boasts that he's unbeatable, but Thaddeus delivers a powerful punch, telling him he's not like ordinary humans who are hurt and dazed. Shazam is lifted into the sky by Thaddeus, who then punches him back toward the ground. As Shazam plummets, he realizes midair that he can now fly. He rockets toward Freddy for help, but is intercepted by Thaddeus, who knocks him into the ground once more. Shazam seeks refuge in a mall, attempting to escape, but thus finds him just before, thus can deliver a fatal blow. Shazam transforms back into Billy by shouting his name, allowing him to slip away unnoticed. However, thus notices a news broadcast showing Freddy talking to Shazam and uses this information to track him. Coincidentally, Freddy is walking nearby and thus seizes the opportunity to use him to locate Shazam. Meanwhile, Billy returns home only to be scolded by Victor and Rosa for running away again. And skipping school, as Billy's siblings watch the news, they notice Freddy talking to Shazam. Mary pieces together the truth and realizes that Billy is Shazam. Darla is thrilled they figured it out without her having to spill the secret. After Victor and Rosa finish scolding Billy, his siblings confront him, revealing they know he's Shazam. Billy, overwhelmed, says he no longer feels capable of being a hero. Spotting Peter holding his notebook, Billy retrieves it, and Eugene reveals he has completed Billy's search for his mother, Marlin, who lives just 2 bus stops away. Without hesitation, Billy rushes out to find her. Victor and Rosa, noticing his departure, follow in their van at the same time. Freddy returns home with Foos, who plans to use Billy's siblings as leverage to force Shazam to surrender his powers. Billy finds Marlin and introduces himself as her son, apologizing for running off at the park. Marilyn shocks Billy by admitting she saw him with the police that day, but chose not to identify herself, believing he'd be better off without her, stunned and heartbroken. Billy listens as Marilyn's husband calls her away. She dismisses him, saying his timing is bad, realizing she doesn't want him. Billy resolves to return to his true family. Before leaving, Billy receives a call from Freddie only to hear Thaddeus on the line, demanding he come home immediately, transforming into Shazam. Billy races back. Once there, Thaddeus gives him an ultimatum: surrender his powers or risk his siblings' lives. Despite Freddie's pleas not to comply, Shazam agrees to save his family. Thaddeus opens a portal to the Rock of Eternity and demands Shazam transfer his powers using the wizard staff as Thaddeus begins releasing the deadly sins. Billy's siblings enter the Rock of Eternity and distract him by throwing an object at his head, leaving a surprising cut. Enraged, Thaddeus nearly attacks them, but Shazam intervenes, punching him and hurling him away. Shazam leads his siblings to safety in another room with the original door locked. The group wonders how to escape. Shazam recalls how he previously thought of the subway to Leaves and teleports everyone to an amusement park. Once there, Shazam reverts to Billy and blends into the crowded park, hoping to avoid it. Soon after, Thaddeus arrives at the park, threatening to kill everyone if Billy doesn't surrender. Without waiting for a response, he begins destroying the area with fire. Billy, determined to protect his family, tells his siblings that he must face this head-on. Freddie and the others warn him it's too dangerous, but Billy insists that he can't be a real hero if he doesn't save his family. Transforming into Shazam, he charges at Thaddeus but quickly realizes he isn't strong enough to defeat him. During the battle, Freddie recalls that Thaddeus was vulnerable when the deadly sins left his blue eye. Realizing they might help Shazam by forcing him to release the sins, Mary taunts him. Thaddeus takes the bait and unleashes the sins, though he keeps one inside himself as Mary and the others flee. Shazam continues the fight, exhausted. Billy transforms back into his regular form, but is overpowered when thus grabs him and nearly drowns him. Mary intervenes by shooting at Thaddeus, but he effortlessly stops the bullet. Shazam transforms just as Thaddeus captures his siblings with no other option. Billy considers surrendering, but Freddie urges him not to give up his powers. Freddie reminds Billy that if he can remove the eye of the deadly sins from him, he will lose his strength. However, instead of attempting this, Billy decides to surrender. Holding the wizard's staff, he watches as the deadly sins return to Thaddeus's blue eye. In that moment, Shazam remembers the wizard's words about the thrones of his brothers and sisters gaining confidence. He blasts them away and tells his siblings to grab the staff and say his name. At first they call him Billy, but he corrects them, urging them to say Shazam Billy. No, not my name. No, say the name that I say to turn into this guy, Shazam, when they call him. Shazam, all of Billy's siblings transform into superheroes like him enraged, thus unleashing several of the deadly sins to attack the newly empowered heroes. Superhero Freddie reminds Shazam to remove Thaddeus's eye during their fight, while Freddie and the others engage the sins. Thaddeus charges at Shazam, and their battle resumes. During the fight, Shazam realizes the final sin inside Thaddeus is envy. He provokes the monster, taunting it to leave its host. Furious envy emerges from Thaddeus's body to confront Shazam. As a result, Thaddeus loses his grip and nearly falls off the building. Shazam defeats envy and rushes to save Thaddeus from plummeting. He rescues him and returns him to the park where his superhero siblings have successfully defeating the other sins afterward. Shazam removes the deadly sin's eye from Thaddeus, trapping the monsters back in their cage. The crowd at the park erupts into applause, celebrating the heroes who saved them. Shazam then takes his superhero siblings to the Rock of Eternity, where they secure the eye to keep it imprisoned before leaving. Superhero Freddie admires the lyre-like surroundings and suggests they use it as their secret base. The siblings agree but decide to return home first. The next morning, while having breakfast, Billy asks everyone to put their hands together. Rose and Victor are surprised but touched when Billy expresses his gratitude for welcoming him into their home. He promises never to run away again, leaving everyone smiling with happiness later at school. Freddie sits alone in the cafeteria, enduring stares from his peers after the previous day's events. Suddenly, Mary Eugene, Peter, and Darla join him at the table, confused. Freddy asks what's going on just as Shazam bursts into the cafeteria, declaring Freddy as his best friend. Students, including Brett and Burke, look stunned. Shazam then announces he has another surprise as he sits at the table. Superman enters the cafeteria, leaving everyone astonished and speechless.